Welcome to the Redirect Podcast. My name is Abigail Hewins.
And I'm Emily Rojas. The Redirect Podcast is a show where we shift the conversation back to books. We discuss themes from some of our favorite fictional books and how those themes show up in real lived experiences.
On today's episode, we are giving curated book recommendations to our listeners based on their individual tastes.
But first, before we get into that, if you enjoy the podcast, we would really humbly ask that you consider supporting us in a few really easy ways. The first, so easy, go tap that 5-star button on Apple Podcasts. It takes 5 seconds, and let us know that you love the show.
We'd also love for you to follow us on Instagram at Redirect Podcast. And finally, if you really, really love the show, we really want you to share our show with a friend. It's really lovely when friends share podcasts that they love, and when friends share the love of reading. This podcast is perfect for both. So share our show with a friend. It is the best way to help grow our community of book-loving nerds.
And
Emily,
if you follow us on Instagram, you might get a special bonus like today where we are taking listener comments from Instagram. So even more incentive.
I am so excited about today's episode. I'm really excited for these book recommendations. I was like, wait, am I smart? Do I actually maybe have good ideas about what we should do for these recommendations?
I think it really helped too, not to spoil, but like I do feel like for the most part, the vibe of what our listeners were looking for is stuff that both of us have read a lot of for the most part. So that helped because it's like, okay, I got a couple for thrillers. I read thrillers more than anything else, you know, so I feel like that helps because you have like a large back catalog of books you've read that you can think about. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I didn't know how I was gonna go, but
yeah, me either. We were low-key like, are we gonna have to like text our friends on the side and be like, comment on this post so we have something to talk about? But I'm really happy with what we got, and
me too. I'm
ready to jump into it. You want to go first?
Yeah, I am ready. So our first request came from @bookishwithtaylor, and they said, loved The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I'm going to throw a shot in the dark on that one. And A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. Wasn't a fan of The Maid by Nita Prose. So I have read The Silent Patient and The Maid. I have not read A Flicker in the Dark, although I read this was a great exercise because now I have more to add to my TBR because this book sounded super interesting. It's like, for those of you guys who like me have not read it, it is like a mystery, I believe, where the daughter of a dad, as most of us are, her dad was arrested and accused of basically being a serial killer, like when she was a child.
Oh, wow.
But then years later, she returns to this town or whatever, and murders start happening again, but obviously her dad's already in jail, and she's like, is this like, why does this feel the same? You know, so what's happening? So I love that. I love a time jump. I love a misdirect. So anyways, that's at the top of my TBR now. But
thank you, Bookish with Taylor, for the recommendation.
Thank you, Bookish with Taylor.
Well, really quick before you get into this,
did
you like The Maid? Bookish with Taylor did not.
Like The Maid. I did like The Maid. I didn't like love it as much as I thought I would. First of all, I think it's really unique. But I really liked it. I do think probably like The Maid to me is also in the same vibe as like the Thursday Murder Club, where I think it's less like about the plot and the twists, although those are part of it, but it's way more about like the characters and like what's going on with them. It's more character driven. Mm-hmm. So I think I see why you didn't like, if you liked those first two, which are very twisty, probably some, like The Silent Patient's got some unreliable narrator going on, Flicker in the Dark, you like don't know what's going to happen, probably fast paced, versus like something that really is more just focused on the main character of the maid. And like her experience versus necessarily the mystery is kind of secondary. So
like a plot driven versus character study, you know?
Exactly. So my recommendations for you, first of all, anything by Lucy Foley, I think you're really going to like. Personally, I have read The Paris Apartment and The Guest List. I think you've read one of her other books.
I've read also The Hunting Party.
Yes.
And yeah, just those three.
And I think she's a great, like, I feel like I don't know, she's famous, obviously, but I do feel like her books sometimes don't make the cuts of when people recommend thrillers that are really twisty, but she's really, like, they're all really fast paced. They're creepy. Like, you will really get that creepy, scary kind of vibe.
They move super fast.
They move really fast. And they're kind of like always written in big font too. So I feel like you can read through them.
Also, they're like, she's British. All of her books are set in England, Ireland, Scotland. And I think that's fun too. And maybe why she's less popular here. I don't know.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, she obviously is really popular. I see her books a lot. I just feel like, you know, The Silent Patient is so big on like Book Talk. I feel like you see that recommended all the time.
Yeah.
So this might be something you haven't explored her yet. And I think the great thing, on a tangent, the great thing about thrillers and honestly romance, I feel like they fall into the same category. Once you find an author that you really like how they write in that genre, I feel like you can just go through and read all of their books because they tend to follow the same kind of formulas. And, you know, I think like there's so many authors that I just love and they're an auto, you know, read for me.
Totally.
So especially with thrillers, I think if you like one of Lucy Foley's books, you can just go read the rest.
Yeah. She has another one coming out this year. I forget what it's called, but it's publishing in May. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. It's like already going to be a read for me.
Absolutely. Another one I would recommend is Unmissing by Minka Kent. Just reading the description of Flicker in the Dark, the vibe kind of reminded me of this book. This book follows, and it's been a while since I read it, so forgive me if I'm forgetting some of the details, but essentially a woman goes missing. Years past, her husband remarries or starts dating someone else. I don't remember if they fully get married. But like many years passed, and then the woman returns. And so it's like, what happened to her? Who was responsible for her disappearance? You know, it's a little giving unreliable narrator, but it's kind of one of those things, much like The Silent Patient, where you really don't know exactly what's the full story is till you get to the end. So I think you would like that. And then my last one is Force of Nature by Jane Harper. It follows a group of women who go on a little, I think, a camping trip. Again, it's been a while since I read this. And they all come back, but one doesn't come back with them. And there's like conflicting stories about what happened. And so you don't really know like what exactly went wrong. But all you know is that they all come back, one's missing. So this is a great one. It's a part of there's a detective in this book who is part of a series where that same detective kind of goes and solves different mysteries, and there's some of his personal life in there. So this is the second book in that series. You don't have to, I didn't read this in order. I actually ended up accidentally reading the first book like a year later, and not even realizing it was connected till I realized the detective was connected. So you can start with this one, or you can start with book one, which I just didn't like the mystery as much. So I think if you just want a standalone mystery, you can just go straight into Force of Nature. So those are my recommendations for you, Bookish with Taylor. And you'll have to let us know if any of them, you know, strike a chord.
Yeah, that was a feast of recommendations. I think of those, there's got to be at least one that Bookish with Taylor is going to like. All right. My first request comes from @D_Little_Bookshelf, which I did do a little background research, and D_Little_Bookshelf is short for Diana's Little Bookshelf. So from here forth, we are referring to D_Little_Bookshelf as Diana. Diana says, "Hi, I really loved The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Girl, me too. I fell in love with the characters, and I cried a lot with the ending. And I had really high expectations about Credence by Penelope Douglas because of Book Talk, but for me, it was a very disappointing story, and the ending was kind of meh." So I'm so glad Emily assigned these out to each of us, and I got this one because honestly, I've been on record saying many times that The Nightingale is one of my favorite books of all time, and it really...
You are like Kristen Hanna's number one fan, probably.
Me and a bunch of like 45-year-old women. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it ruined books for me for a long time. It's so good. And so my first thought was like, okay, obvious recommendation here is another one of her books, but I was like, she probably's read them. So Diana, using the link in your bio, I went to your Goodreads account And I did a quick little search of the books that you've logged. So considering that, like, let's assume that you keep that updated, you have not read another title by Kristen Hanna. This is the lazy answer. So I'm going to do a lazy answer and a good answer. The lazy answer is you should really read Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I don't feel like it got as much buzz as The Nightingale, but there's a lot of the same elements. It's also a historical fiction novel. There are strong female characters. You're really going to like the story, and it's going to make you cry. If you're looking for a book that's going to make you cry, you're not going to be okay with this one. I mean, you are going to be okay with it. You're going to be okay because you're not going to be okay. But it's a similar thing, like just like really well-developed, strong characters, a little sprinkle of romance. I think you'll like it. So that's my lazy answer because I'm just recommending a book by the same author, but really you should read that. My not lazy answer so I'm looking at the two titles you mentioned. You love The Nightingale. You didn't like Credence. I haven't read Credence, but I did a little research on it. So I think you're looking for a very dramatic, engaging story, maybe something that centers family, maybe something that has a romance element, because Credence promised some of those things. It kind of teased like there was going to be family, but the story, like a dramatic family situation, but it didn't fulfill. So I'm thinking historical vibes, strong female characters, speculative history, because both The Nightingale and Four Winds are both speculative history. I'm recommending to you The Secrets We Kept by Lara Prescott.
Excellent.
That's a good recommendation, right?
I love that.
Okay,
book.
so this is a Cold War spy novel, but strong female characters, a little bit of romance. We have also speculative fiction because this is centered around real world events, particularly the book Dr. Zhivago. And the whole thing is about they're trying to smuggle the book Dr. Zhivago out of the USSR where no one's allowed to publish it and help them like get their message out to the world. I think it's going to hit the right marks for you based on the things that you've liked. Strong characters, great story, speculative fiction. This is for you.
Crying
Diana.
at the end.
Crying at the end. Like Diana, I think you're going to like this. It's good.
Great recommendations, honestly. I love that book. So 10 out of 10. All right. I'll go to my number 2. Another thriller mystery, semi-thriller mystery. So this is from Amanda Hedges, and Amanda said she loved What Wild Women Do by Karma Brown and Lay Them to Rest on the Road with the Cold Case Investigators Who Identify the Nameless. So those are kind of really different. She didn't like Among the Bros, a fraternity crime story by Max Marshall. So, kind of took a shot in the dark because these go all over the place. So I'm trying to, it's like, what did you like about these books? I don't know, but I'm just going to make some guesses. So What Wild Women Do, I haven't read this one either, but it's kind of like a mystery from the past that ties into the present day. Like someone in the present is learning about this mystery from the past and it has an impact on them. So based on that element, I thought you might like The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. Abigail recommended that to me. I recently read it, and it kind of follows these two women who are staying in this house that is very famous for a murder having taken place there. And one of the women ends up finding a journal from the past that kind of starts to tell the story about what happened there. And of course, it does impact the present day. So if that's the element you liked about that, I think you would like The Villa. I also think you would like A Flicker in the Dark, which I just talked about. I haven't read it, but Bookish with Taylor, based on that, like it has that element of the past coming back to haunt you. And so, I would recommend that one, if that sounded good to you. And then I also put one of my favorite books, In the Waning Light by Lorith Ann White. She's one of those go-to authors for me. But this book is about a woman who, a family member of hers was killed when she was very young. She becomes a true crime writer, and then she returns to her hometown as an adult to kind of try to write the story of this crime that affected her. And of course, it will impact her present day because it is still unsolved. So who knows what happened? And the person might still be out there and not want her investigating. So those are three that I think take that element of like a mystery from the past coming back to impact your future. So if that's what you're looking for, I feel like any of those would scratch that itch. And then kind of my shot in the dark, because you liked this Lay Them to Rest, which was a nonfiction book about investigators who kind of work with cold cases and help identify victims of crimes, which sounds really interesting. And then Among the Bros is also, I believe, nonfiction, I think. Maybe now I'm like questioning because it says crime story, but I thought when I Googled it, it was nonfiction. So we're just going to go with that. So I think you read Among the Bros because you were kind of interested in maybe that like fraternity college crime, but it didn't hit the right chord. So I'm going to recommend Tell Me Everything by Erica Krauss, and I've recommended this one here before. It's a nonfiction. Erica is this woman who, for whatever reason, people her whole life have told her their secrets. And that kind of leads her to becoming a semi kind of private investigator, investigating a crime that happened, on a college campus, kind of a massive cover up kind of thing. So I think if that's what you were looking for in Among the Bros, I think this is a book you would really like because it has that nonfiction. It has that like horrific men in college vibe.
Men being men.
Men being horrible. But it's really, really well written, I think. It's one of those where I love it, but some people don't love it. So I can't say 100% if you'll love it. But I thought it's just, I'm not a big nonfiction person. I think you are, Amanda, a little more. But this is one of those nonfiction that read like a fiction to me. Like her life is just very interesting. I think what people didn't like so much is she does talk a lot about her own history with like sexual violence and her own kind of trauma and how that is coming back up in the story she's investigating. Yeah. So some people don't like that part. So if that's something that like maybe you would be sensitive to, maybe avoid this. But if you're okay with that, I think, any good, like some people just wanted her to tell the story of what she was investigating and leave her personal stuff out of it. Personally, I like it when the author is going to talk about their own life. I think that's, that's their life. So, and it's impacting her and how she's processing this and like how she's investigating this case. So I think it's relevant, but again, that's not for everyone. So, kind of use your own judgment, but those are my recommendations for you.
My next one is at Logan Smith, who is also my personal friend. Logan loved Shark Heart. Honestly, was so underwhelmed by None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Okay. This is a toughie because I have not read either of these books. However, I am very intrigued by Shark Heart. Allow me to read a brief blurb about it to you. Okay. For Lewis and Ren, their first year of marriage is also their last. A few weeks after their wedding, Lewis receives a rare diagnosis. He will retain most of his consciousness, memories, and intellect, but his physical body will gradually turn into a great white shark. As Lewis develops the features and impulses of one of the most predatory creatures in the ocean, his complicated artist's heart struggles to make peace with his unfulfilled dreams. So that is so unique, right?
That is fascinating.
I know.
I've never heard of this.
So I did some reading in the reviews. The description goes on longer. I won't read here, but here's what my impression of this is. This is a book that uses an absurd metaphor to tackle a big topic like grief, love, family. And it uses this absurdity as a situation, as a vehicle for that. So the first book that immediately came to mind is Lily and the Octopus by Stephen Rowley. This book is also about grief, but it is not about grief. And it uses an absurd metaphor of an octopus that is living on his wiener dog named Lily, his dachshund, and his fight against this octopus to save Lily's life. And it's like nobody else can see the octopus, but he can. And there are moments where like he's kind of in his own internal world, like fighting this octopus, but like the rest of the world has no idea what they're talking about. And so it's about grief. It's about being afraid of letting go, of starting over in your life, of what your big feeling could be holding you back from. It's obviously going to be a tearjerker. I mean, but it's also like just with so much heart and really makes you think about your own self and your own big feelings. And it's like, it's almost like play therapy. It's like we're allowed to like work out some of these big things and big feelings, like through drawing or like, you know, like playing with dolls or something. Like we can't actually talk about them, so they come through in these other ways. That's the feeling and the vibe that I got from Shark Heart. You know, it's a big love story. It's whimsical, it's lyrical, it's poetic, and I feel like you're going to get a really similar vibe from Lily and the Octopus. So Logan, I hope that works for you, and I hope that you like it.
I love that. And I'm very intrigued by this shark book. So I'm going to have to investigate that separately. But thank you. This is so fun too, because I feel like I got so many books I wanted to read out of this episode. Okay. Yeah, right? My last one is at Ashley Elizabeth Smith. I loved All I Want by Darcy Bell. It was a mystery thriller, but I loved the imagery of the home. And then this is a spoiler for The House on the Water. So if you don't want to be spoiled, do 10 seconds ahead. The House on the Water is an Audible original novella, but I didn't enjoy the ending because it gave absolutely no hints or leads that the narrator was the murderer. The ending was basically just written for shock value, and the way she confessed was rushed and not well executed. So
it's giving Verity.
It's giving Verity. It's giving another one I don't like. Not that we're airing our grievances, but The Perfect Marriage, same vibe. Uh-huh. So don't read that if you didn't like that. Where you're like, okay, that's a great twist that the narrator's the murderer, but you have to like lead me there. You know, you can't just make that up and then retroactively you're like, well, that makes no sense now in the context of the story. So I feel your pain. So first, based on All I Want, by Darcy Bell, you said you loved the imagery of the home and you loved a mystery thriller. So I'm going to recommend to you, based on that, anything by Riley Sager, especially the two that I have read. I'm just going to assume the rest of us are like this. But I have read The House on the Lake and The Only One Left by him. And I really liked both. The Only One Left, it's a little more traditional of a not a murder, but a mystery thriller. It follows, I've talked about it before on the pod, so I'll just do a quick recap. But basically this woman is a caregiver. She takes care of elderly people for her job. She lives with them and she is assigned, there's an incident that happened that you don't really know exactly what it was. Because of this incident, she was at risk for losing her job, her license, but she's given a second chance and she's basically told no one else wants this job. So if you really want to come back, we will let you, on a probationary basis to go take care of this woman in this house up on this big cliff. And her entire family was murdered when she was young. Now she's a very elderly woman and she's the only survivor. And it was presumed that she did it, but they were never able to convict her. So she may be a murderer. But now she can't move, she can't talk, she can't walk. So it's giving a better version of Verity because this character is like kind of locked in, but is she really? So that's a really good one. And it has great, like this house is really a character in the story because it's on this cliff. Eventually the house is going to fall off the cliff, according to, the experts who are architectural. Because it's slowly sinking off the side of the cliff. But it's this big mansion, but it's creepy. No one goes in or out really. So I think if you like a good setting, but you also like a mystery that's going to make sense. And I love Riley Sager. Now that I've read his other books, he will give you like a big twist, but then he'll also give you like maybe 2 or 3 other small twists where you're like, okay, I thought that was a big twist, and then I wasn't even expecting another twist is coming, but it all does make sense in the end where you're like, okay, I see the foreshadowing, it all ties together. The House on the Lake is a little weirder, so I just want to give a warning. I wouldn't read anything about either of these books because I read some reviews and it kind of spoiled a little for me, so I would just go into it. The House on the Lake, though, it is a little weirder, so just know you're going to have some weirder elements in this one. But it's kind of giving like Woman in the Window, like this woman, she is in her family's lake house. She's a former actress who's kind of like fallen from grace after her husband passed away. She's basically become an alcoholic, and her mom sends her to their family cabin to kind of like detox her. But of course she's still, illicitly getting alcohol to continue to numb the pain of her husband's death. And across the lake, this supermodel and her like tech bro husband have purchased this house with these big windows, and she kind of begins to watch, what's going on over there. So this is, it's
dangerous
great. There's
game.
A lot of little twists, a dangerous game. What I've learned from these mystery books is don't ever do that. You will get involved in something you do not want to be involved.
This is like a good lesson for me. It's a good lesson for me because I'm so nosy, and if I hear a conversation from my neighbors like in the hallway or like out on the street, like I'm going to be listening in. I'm muting the TV. I want to know your business, but maybe I don't because I could be implicated in a crime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like look out for your neighbors, but don't watch them obsessively, probably.
Look out, but don't look for.
Yes. So anyways, this is a really good one. Again, like this cabin she's in is kind of like a really strong setting. The lake itself, there's a couple other characters who live on this lake, this big house. So I think if you're looking for a really good imagery, really good setting, Riley Sager is going to be good for you. And then if you like a good twist that makes sense, I think this goes for all these people who are looking for thrillers. These are things I assume you have checked out, but if you haven't read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, and for that matter, all of her books. But
they're really dark, though.
They're very dark. Okay.
Gone Girl is probably like the least dark, but the other ones,
that's
be prepared.
Why.
It's going to be kind of dark.
Yes, be prepared for the darkness. But I think, especially Gone Girl, like if you haven't read that, start there. Also, I think if you haven't read, like these are so basic, for a reason. But like The Woman in the Window, The Girl on the Train, that whole genre of books, they're the backbone of the genre.
One of like the the formula of like the descriptor of a human being on a piece of architecture or transportation. The woman in the window, the girl on the train, the man in the whatever.
The biggest trope that I love, I have to admit, and I know it's the biggest trope, but it's the alcoholic woman who realizes something that's true, but no one will believe her because she's like blacked out every day and she has to like take matters into her own hands. I love that. But I think those are all great. And then one last, like out of left field recommendation for you is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This one I think fell victim to the, what is it?
Seven Husbands
of
Evelyn Hugo.
Yeah. Okay. It's not 7.5. Yeah. But The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, people get confused because it's an Evelyn, it's a 7. It's written very similarly. But anyways, this one, basically is a little weird. Again, it's very weird. But, the main character, Aiden, he is informed that Evelyn Hardcastle is going to be murdered at 11 p.m. this day. And he has 8 days to figure out what happened. He's going to live the same day over 8 times in 8 different bodies, of 8 different witnesses at this big party that is happening at this big house, like this big estate. And he just keeps living the day over and over again until he can find out what happened to Evelyn Hardcastle. So it's a long book. So settle in if you want to do this one. I'm looking at it right now. The audiobook is 17 hours. So it's a really long one. So maybe if you have like a really long road trip, but it's a good place, like a good setting, and it's very weird. So there's a lot of weird twists. Obviously got some like supernatural elements because how else is he living the same day over and over? But yeah, it's kind of like twisty, mysterious, and a great setting. So that's my out of left field recommendation for you, Ashley. You may not like it, but definitely start with Riley Sager because I think he's got a really good formula, great settings, and the twist. I just read The House Across the Lake. Sorry, not on the lake. The House Across the Lake, and the twists were crazy, but when I looked back on the book, they made a lot of sense. So you're not going to be left feeling like that came out of nowhere. But anyways, that's my rec.
Another great job.
Thank you.
Ashley, be blessed. Okay, my last one is at Dollhouse Books, famous for her appearance on the Redirect podcast,
friend of
end
the
of your
show.
episode, and also my real life friend and part of my book club. Okay, so Dollhouse Books says, how about a super spicy, dark, twisted romance with like a medium to fast pacing, but written by an indie author? Very specific. I've been mostly wanting to read only smutty romance these days, and I've been getting worn out of all the fluffy rainbows and cheesy cliches of contemporary romance, so wanting that change of pace. And for books I've loved like this, Haunting Adeline in the Addicted series, books I haven't liked, A Touch of Ruin. First of all, I also didn't like A Touch of Ruin. I DNF'd it. I think because expectations versus reality. So A Touch of Ruin is the Hades and Persephone's book. I thought it was going to be like Song of Achilles, like it's like set in modern day, which is not it for me.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, Hannah. I didn't really like it. Okay. Second of all, Hannah, you are the person I would go to for a super spicy, dark, twisted romance with a medium to fast pacing, but written by an indie author. So I am going to try my best, but also know that this is...
You're doing your best.
Yeah, this is really your lane. Okay. That being said, over Christmas or like over December-ish, I read The Princess Trap by Talia Hibbert. And I know you're thinking, Princess Trap, that sounds pretty fluffy and rainbows and cheesy. It has the word princess in it. It is not. And actually... honestly, that's why I picked it up, was I was like, oh, like this will be fun.
Yeah.
It's actually not. There are just like some warnings here. There are some themes of abuse and like flashbacks and things. The male main character in this story is a prince. He is super clean cut on the surface, but below things are complex, and that comes out in ways, ... Wink for you. I think that you'll like I think that you'll like the spice in this book. It's very much a departure from the mainstream. The tropes here are fake dating, celebrity, normal person, forced proximity. And I think you'll enjoy it's it's like not as one of her more popular titles. I don't think that you should have to hold for it if you get it on Libby, but also, okay, so warning, there is an audiobook version of it that I did a little bit of while I was reading. It is available on Spotify for free with your premium subscription. However, the prince in this book, the male main character, is not like English. He's like Swedish or something. I forget. Oh, so the accent work in the audiobook, it's really hard to get on the level with this man being attractive when you hear the accent. Right. So I would probably just go straight for reading it. And that way you don't have to have that in your mind.
Good advice.
But anyways, all that being said, that is my best shot for you, Hannah. And I don't know if that's going to work, but I really hope that you give it a chance and that it does work for you.
I think that was great. You know what I also thought when I read this comment? Draco and Hermione fan fiction.
I almost thought that. I was like, you just need to... I was like, actually, at Dollhouse Books, you just want to read fan fiction. And I think that's okay, too. Like, I think that you want something very specific. And guess what? Everyone on fanfiction's an indie author.
That's what I was going to say. Indie authors. There's a lot of... You don't even have... Obviously, Manacle does a lot, but I've been exploring, and there's a lot of, like, also dark that aren't even quite that dark, or, like, there's... That pairing lends itself to a lot of dark fan fiction, so that could be a great, exploration.
Well, you know what? So, with our dear friend Dollhouse Books in mind, yesterday I was like, I need to read, I just need an audiobook for when I'm walking my dog. I got on Hoopla. I was like, what's available right now? I don't have to wait, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was one of the books that she recommended to us. Or she didn't recommend to us, but she said it was one of her favorite books of the year.
She talked about.
When she was joined. And it was Twisted Love. And so as I got it, I got the vibe of it. I don't know if it's necessarily for me all the way, which is totally fine. But based on that, I'm thinking, if you like this, then there are certainly like elements of the Princess Trap I think you're gonna like. So
Yeah.
Go with God, Hannah.
Go with God. Amen. That was great, I think. Good job.
Yeah. So with that,
So
do you
fun.
want to talk about books that we've read recently? Is there anything you
I
need
would
to catch
love
me
to.
up on?
I do, because I specifically wanted to recommend this to you. Maybe you saw my Instagram post about it, but it's I Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma Alban.
Oh, I did see your Instagram post, but tell me more.
That's what I thought. Okay. So, you guys know I'm not always into the historical fiction, but this is a historical
I was so shocked when I saw that you read a Regency era book, like on purpose.
Okay,
Here's
how I found this. Because
I was delighted and happy for you.
Yes. I've been looking for I was tricked by Book Talk, that's all I'll say. But I've been looking for like good I really wanted to read more. Like I feel like so many romance I keep picking up and it's like they instantly get together or there's like instant attraction and I just don't like that. I want a good plot, you know what I mean? So that's not for me. That's for some people, but not for me. I want a good plot. I want them to be friends first. Like I love a good friends to lovers. Or just like a slow burn. Yeah. And so I've been looking for that.
That's why you love Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeal of being in love. We'll
that
talk about
that. Slowest possible burn, but we'll talk about it. So I put a bunch on hold that I got recommended. This one, I don't even know how it just was released. So someone I guess out there recommended it. So I put like a notification on. My library didn't even have it yet. So I said, notify me if you get this. And then they did. And I think I must have been the first person to get it because then there was a huge wait after me. But I got it and I read it and it is so fun. It's so fun. So this is a Regency era. It's London. And it follows Beth and Gwen. Beth is they're both debutantes. And so they're coming into trying, by the way, just sounds horrible, trying to find a husband. Beth, her father died semi-recently, like a little over a year ago, I believe. And her mom, basically because in this era, women can't have things. So her father's estate went to her uncle. And her uncle is going to give it all to her cousin once he becomes of age, which is the next year, unless Beth can marry and have someone, a descendant, to pass it on to, which is insane.
Wait, so she has to get married and have a son in a year?
No, she just has to get married, sorry. And then her husband would be able to inherit the money. But Beth can't.
I hate it here.
I hate it in this era.
I hate it here.
Additionally, her mom doesn't have enough money. Like she has some, I guess. I guess she's been given part of this estate, whatever, to live on for a little bit. But she doesn't have enough to. Yeah, she doesn't have enough to fund more than one season, which they have to fund themselves.
That's always the thing
for a husband.
No. Yeah, this is the crux of like every Bridgerton book. It's like, okay, there's usually like a poor person. It's like, this is my one season.
One chance.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm learning a lot about the Regency era. But then Gwen is another debutante. This is her 4th season. Her dad is crazy rich.
She's starting to get washed up though.
Yes.
It's like, why haven't you gotten picked
up? And she's
up?
only 21. She's only 21.
An old spinster.
And she is has a really bad reputation among the moms, and she gets drunk and she doesn't have any interest in actually
back then.
married.
Yeah, girls were not supposed to drink any alcohol back then.
No, it was you could have one.
You could have a lemonade at the a lemonade at the ball.
But she was getting hammered. So then these two become friends. Gwen kind of takes Beth under her wing and is like, I'm gonna help you not get with these gross. There's so many gross guys, trying to just be gross. So she's like, I'm gonna help you. But Gwen's dad is also widowed. Many years ago, his wife died in childbirth. And he and Beth's mom seem to have a history. There's some tension. There's blushing. There's anger. There's heartbrokenness. And so Beth and Gwen decide, as friends, that instead of trying to get Beth married, why don't they try to get their parents married? Because Gwen's
solve
dad...
their problems.
Yeah, it'll solve their problems. And Gwen's dad is crazy rich, insane levels rich. So it's you have nothing to worry about. If your mom would marry my dad, what's the problem? So that's their scheme. It's like the Parent Trap. And then, of course, Gwen and Beth have to fall in love. And that's even better because then they have even more stakes to make this work out.
Yeah, but then are they like stepsisters who are in love?
Look, how else can you solve this problem in the 1800s?
Look, back then people were
stepsisters who are in love. Yeah.
Look, it's fine. It's okay.
So it's so good. It's like it's like nice because this really is a friends to lovers, I would say. If you're just looking for a really fun book that's gonna have you like giggling and kicking your feet, and like there's really good dialogue between them, and I just like their friendship is very genuinely built up, and then them falling in love is very genuinely built up. And I think it's probably difficult to write a Regency era like queer novel because it just like either you have to make things happen that wouldn't have really happened. Like, you have to make it unbelievable or you have to make it depressing. But I think this is a really good, like, well-done version that's not sad and it's not unbelievable. It's like, it kind of works. And obviously, you know, people of all kinds have always existed. So it's just a nice little read. And it sets up a great sequel, which is actually coming out later this year. So this author's, she's
That's
on
exciting.
it. I'm assuming she kind of wrote them, you know, in tandem because... You know, it very clearly segues into a next book. So I'm excited to read that sequel.
I feel like this is right up my alley.
Yes. I was reading it and thought you would really like this. And I learned a lot. Again, I did not know very much at all about the Regency, you know, era.
Maybe this is your
horrible.
maybe this is your gateway drug. I'm really looking forward to May when season 3 of Bridgerton comes out, and I have to make you read the Bridgerton 4, and we have to talk about it because I think you're gonna like it, and I think I'm gonna convert you. All right,
love it.
All right, what have I been reading? Let's see. I've read. Okay, so to kind of pick up on a conversation we had in our last. So last time you had just read Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love. I have read that now.
Internal streaming.
You were so right that it's like it is a great cleanser after reading Manacled. It is the seriousness is low. Like things work out. Like
yes.
It's just like, oh, thank God.
It's fun.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is fun. And also one thing I liked about it is that they're like in their 30s, which I
really liked that.
I really like that. I like that they kind of just had their things like, you know, whatever. Anyway,
they're established as their own people. They're not like figuring things out together. It's like, okay, I have, you know, they're very independent people, and then they, you know.
Yes, totally. For me, it was the slowest burn. Like this is a long ass fanfic. Okay,
it's long.
It's long. And halfway through, I texted Emily and I texted you, and I was like, hello, they have grazed fingertips. Like, the yearning. And also because it's from Draco's POV, like you don't know if she even reciprocates anything at all, or if she's having any feelings whatsoever at all until like really close to the end.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
It was really sweet, and it was good. It's delightful, but like be warned, like this is a slow burn. And when and that does make the payoff, like when the main characters finally get together, it makes it very satisfying. But also you're like, y'all, come on, please. It's been years.
I think it does take place over the course of a year. So
it does. It takes place over the course of a year. Which I guess, honestly, realistic. Like, if you have kind of always been enemies.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why I don't like these enemies to lovers where they're like, oh, suddenly, one day later, I love you. No, that's not real.
Right.
It takes time. I mean, that's for some people, but I did binge read this, so I think that's the way to do it. Like, if you can devote a whole weekend to reading this, I think that's the way to go. Don't drag it out, because it is quite long.
There is also ETL Echo did another. They did the an audiobook of this on Spotify.
Love that.
So
Love that for society.
And I will say, like, God bless the people who did this. The Hermione voice is giving Hermione. It's very like, what is it? Ron, you know?
Yes. You know what I love when voice actors do voices and not like, I don't like as much when they're just like, I am going to the store. And, you know, like when they just start reading it, you know, in that narrator voice. I mean, I understand why people do that, but I like it when there's more, you know, artisticness. So
me too.
Great. Excellent. Well
okay. On top of that, taking a more serious turn, I read Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. It's called Caste, subtitle The Origins of Our Discontent, and it compares caste systems across the world over time and to the caste system in the United States. And so her argument is that, like, not only is like America like structurally and systematically like a racist country, but it's also a caste system. And comparing it to the Nazi caste system and the Indian caste system. And so she uses a lot of great stories to discuss that, and how advocacy, like how Germany has like made true reparations for and like healing from from their caste system and the negative effects of the Nazi regime. And the ways, actually, like some really like interesting comparisons that really put things in perspective in America, like the way that our country has been built. So it's also, I'm confused about how it's going to be a movie, because it's being made into like, it's being fictionalized in some way, or like made into a movie that's coming out called Origins. So it's going to be, that'll be interesting. I think probably it's using like a narrative form of like this researcher who's researching about the caste system.
Sure.
But it was really, really good. I've read quite a few books around this topic over the last few years, and this one really stood out. So I recommend, if I mostly did the audiobook on this one. The audiobook is included in your premium subscription of Spotify, although I did run out of listening hours because it's quite long. So then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I ended up getting the regular copy from the library and finishing it that way. But I recommend, and at the very least, maybe seeing the movie would be really interesting for people who are interested. So
yeah, that sounds really good. Thank you for recommending.
You're welcome. All right.
That's all we have.
This is a good episode.
Today.
Well done.
This is great. Very fun. See you guys next time.
Catch you guys next time. Bye.